Hello team, welcome to my session on Coffee with Prabh, and today we're going to discuss some coffee shots on CCSP. If you're new to my channel, do subscribe to my YouTube channel and click on the bell icon to make sure you should not miss my future videos on a similar topic. My name is Prabh Nair. For more information, you can refer my LinkedIn profile. So without wasting a time, let's start with the first part. Okay, so we'll start with the first coffee shot. Which solution best be used to reduce the risk of disclosing PII to unauthorized party while allowing the customer to gain the benefit of cloud solution and data processing requirement? So if you read the question carefully, there are some three keywords are there. First, reduce the risk because 100% risk cannot be eliminated. Second keyword is disclosing PII. It means we're talking about the confidentiality. And the third most important thing is data processing requirement. Okay, so we are looking for a solution by which we can able to reduce the disclosure of PII, which is a sensitive information from unauthorized party. So option A, data may be anonymized before being stored in the cloud service, which is true because anonymize is basically a process which removing the direct identifier from the data. Example, like if I say my name is Prabh and my email ID is prabh.train@gmail.com, so we'll replace the Prabh with some number. So then after that, the data does not have any value. So by the help of that data, we can able to process data also. So we can go for the A, which is very close. Option B is data may be encrypted before stored in the cloud service. That is the most effective control, because if the encrypted state of data stored in the cloud, and if cloud employer or other user able to access it, and they will not able to decrypt the data. They need a key. But keyword here is talking about they want a data processing requirement. If the data is encrypted, you can't able to process the data. Third is data may be encrypted before being stored in the cloud and key stored in the cloud provider, which is basically a concern because key is managed by a cloud provider. They can have access to the key, and through that key they can able to decrypt the data. And data may be encrypted before being stored in the cloud service and keys managed by a customer, which is a most effective control actually. This is a fully compliance thing. But again, the keyword is data processing requirement. They want to process the data. So we need to balance the security versus functionality. So the close option is basically A, because if data is anonymized, where we're removing the identifier from the data or replacing the identifier with some alternate value which serve no value to the data when it's stored in the cloud, even you can able to process that particular data. Okay, so that is why the answer is basically A. If you remove the word data processing requirement, then answer is basically D. That is the best solution we have. Let's move to the next coffee shot. Okay, it's a very good question. Question talking about which cloud service model do cloud customer face major challenge in forensic investigation and incident management. The question talking about in which service model we face the forensic. One thing you need to remember, we have a three type of service model: IaaS, PaaS, and SaaS. So when we're talking about the control of the infrastructure, in IaaS you have a more control because you have access to the compute, you have access to the OS, you have access to network, you have access to storage. But in the case of SaaS, you have a limited control because everything is developed by the cloud provider. Example is Office 365. What you're doing is you're just storing a data in the cloud. In the past, at least you have access to your source code, you have access to the application that you deploy. Even in the case of SaaS, we don't have. So question talking about face challenge. So option A, SaaS model customer may have a little or no access to infrastructure, which is true, and have a limited access to storage required for cloud forensics, which is actually true. SaaS model customer may have more access to data required for the cloud forensics, but that is not a challenge, that is a control. Option C is IaaS model customer more difficult to have access to data, which is a false statement. In the IaaS, we have an end-to-end control over the infrastructure because what we basically rent is CPU, RAM, and storage. Now I can deploy anything on top of it. I can decide the OS, I can decide the storage, I can decide the application. So C is a false statement. And option D is PaaS model customer may have a more difficulty accessing data, but as compared to, but this is called PaaS, not PaaS. Even in the case of PaaS, we have a better visibility than SaaS. So only option which is very close is basically A. So I'm going with the A as an answer. Let's move to the next coffee shop, because always remember SaaS basically has a limited visibility and IaaS we have a more visibility. So in this case, the question talking about challenges, that is why we basically went with the A as a best answer. Let's move to the next coffee shop. It's a very good question. Again, a question on forensic. Which of the following is the most challenging for a cloud customer while dealing with e-discovery and data acquisition requirement? It means we're dealing with the e-discovery, which is basically a systematic way of collecting a data for government litigations and all that, which is part of a EDRM. And data acquisition, which is the most important thing in the forensic investigation. So out of following, which is a challenge? Option A, multi-tenant nature of cloud. Definitely it's a challenge because we have a tenant 1, we have a tenant 2, we have a tenant 3. If they're sharing a same hardware, and we need our logs on the hardware level, which is difficult to obtain. So A can be the close option. Option B, lack of cloud specific tool. Yes, that is also a concern, but at least with the help of strong skill, we can able to address this gap. Third is called as a cloud and time synchronization dynamics. Definitely that is another important concern. If the machines are running with a different time zone, even you collect the data, you cannot able to correlate the event. So C is also a very good option. D is unification of different data format of the logs. That is also true because we collecting a log from the system, we collecting log from the system, we collecting log from the system. They are in a different format. So we need to unify them. So it is also a challenge, but the biggest challenge is basically called as a because if it is a multi-tenant and multiple tenants sharing a same hardware, okay, you will not able to obtain end-to-end data. Even you have a good tool, you have a good time synchronization, you have a common standard format, still if there is a multi-tenant, you cannot able to proceed for the BCD. Okay, BCD can be addressable because D can be addressed with the SIM, C can be addressed with common SNMP and NTP protocol, or we can go with the B also with the help of good specific skills. But if A is there, then BCD is become ineffective because multi-tenant sharing a same hardware is always a concern and we will not have access to end-to-end data. And if we request the cloud provider to provide the end-to-end access of the data, it is a breach of privacy of the other tenant. That's why the most important challenge to deal with the e-discovery and data acquisition is multi-tenant nature of the cloud. Let's move to the next coffee shop. Okay, in cloud, environmental data is distributed across the world. And when reconstruction of the cloud and the actions are required for incident management and monitoring, which of the following is the best practice need to be followed for all systems? The question is specifically talking about monitoring. The question is talking about the incident management. It means they're talking about what is the best practice when you're reconstructing of the data, reconstructing of the event for the monitoring purpose. Option A, synchronize using a protocol called NTP that synchronizes machine located across a different location, which is actually true because if systems are configured with the NTP protocol, they are in a same timestamp. So if we collecting a log from all the system, it is easy for us to manage the event. Option B, suitable and standard solution for digital evidence, but that is the second step. So we can go with the B, but that is not a best step. Option C, synchronize using a protocol SNMP that synchronizes machine located across a different location. SNMP is only used for monitoring, but here the keyword is we want to reconstruct of the data. Integrate with the CASB is just a data acquisition. So D is definitely removed. So I will go with the answer A because it is very close. Because if the systems are running with a common timestamp and common NTP, it is easy for me to pull the logs, easy for me to correlate the log and able to find the event. Because of the keyword called reconstruction of a data incident management monitoring, I am going with the A. But if the question talking about overall monitoring and all that, then I will go with the C, which is called as a SNMP protocol. Okay, so let's move to the next coffee shop. So next coffee shop. Legal access to data is still one of the most relevant challenges for the law enforcement deal with the international investigation. Number of different issues might occur. The concept of locality of the law enforcement mandate, the national legislation which do not allow some category of information to be transferred abroad. Sometimes what happen, you have a data center in EU. Okay, and data is basically reside in the data center of EU. So you cannot able to process the data from India. You cannot able to dump the data in India. Okay, or you have a data center in India, you cannot able to move data to US or Europe. Okay, we have a customer which is based out in US. We have a data center in EU. They store data in the EU. So in that case of conflict, which law will be applicable? The law of the land where the customer reside, or the law of the land where the data center resides. So it is always a conflict. So that is why you are the cloud security consultant for an organization. What is the best way to address this conflict? Conflict here is international investigation. So option A is SLA that clearly define the forensic process that could eliminate most of the organization issues that hamper investigation, which is actually true, because even we have a customer is based out in India, and we have a data center which is based out in EU, and our data is reside in the data center, and we want the data center to be protect data as per the India law. Until unless it is not in a contract and SLA, no one will take the accountability. Okay, we cannot assume directly, okay, I am in India, so India law will be applicable, until unless we have not documented in the contract, because by the contract only we establish the governance between the two party. So that is why they're saying SLA clearly define the forensic process, which could eliminate most of the organization issue. Second is data encryption, data control over the cloud. But without SLA, we cannot have a control over the data in the cloud. Definitely data encryption is a most effective control or most effective data security control we have in a cloud environment. But the question talking about here is international investigation. From investigation point of view, what need to be addressed. Third is request for third-party report that provide the visibility. But third-party report like SOC 2 ISO, it only and only providing me visibility about what are the control in place. But here the question talking about how to address the conflict of the international data border. Fourth is called as a use VPN to access the infrastructure and request to have access to end-to-end investigation. But until unless it is not documented in the contract or SLA, no one will take the accountability. So that's why the close option is basically A for alpha. SLA that clearly define the forensic process that could eliminate the most of the organization issues that hamper an investigation. That's why the answer is A for alpha. Let's move to the next coffee shot. Okay, next coffee shot. Which of the following is most relevant issue that might affect cloud forensics activity, especially in the case during, not during, okay, critical information investigation. Question talking about most relevant issue, okay, and it is talking about cloud forensic, and third is during, okay, not before, it means during. Option A, time to detect and time to respond. See, it is always a challenge, whenever any incident happen in the cloud, sometimes it's a stealth mode, or sometimes it is basically in a covert manner that we fail to detect the alert, and will later get to know this kind of incident happen, and then it slow down our process. So time to detect the incident and time to respond to the incident is always a challenge, because systems are running in a different time zone and all that. So A can be the major issue. Second is cost and effort. See, this is already an approved thing. Even we have a dedicated resource which basically activating the alerts and everything. So cost and effort is the second most relevant issue we have, but we already approved everything. After that also, even we have installed the strong threat intelligence, strong solutions and all that, but sometimes we fail to detect the incident. So B can be also thing. C saying that CSP do not typically provide the standard features. That is true, but that with the help of SIEM normalization, CASB, we can able to address that. Absence of third-party report has no correlation with the question. So for me, the close option is basically A for alpha. Time to detect and time to respond is the most relevant issue we have in a cloud. And it has a multiple reason, like systems are running with the different time zones. Some systems are running on a different time zones. So they even got alerted regarding an incident, but they failed to report in the later state, sometime because of false positive, false negative, tool failed to identify the alert, which providing a late report to the investigators or responders, and according to that we respond to the things. So the most important challenge in the cloud, because a dynamic environment, is time to detect and time to respond. Let's move to the next coffee shot. Which type of testing provides an agent? Keyword is agent within an application and perform real-time analysis of a real-time traffic application. performance, detecting potential security issues. See, in the case of DAST, we have a tool like Nessus Qualys Guard, which is basically run against the application. I will enter the URL of the website and they will basically scan the website in a running state. That can be done. And it provides me the report. Example, like we have a tool which sends some kind of a script. If script is basically matched, it will provide the report. Second is basically called, so DAST can be the answer, but the keyword is real-time analysis. So we have an application here. Okay, we install the hook, and then that hook is connect with the interface, which is called as a RASP, runtime application security testing, which is part of a IAST. So any kind of an activity happen in the application, it immediately give the alert to the user, and according to that we can able to analyze the performance of the website in a real state. Because in a DAS, what happened, you send the script, based on a reply we get a response, and according to that we analyze. Okay, example, like I'm sending some kind of a vulnerability script application. If it match with the vulnerability script, it respond back with the script which give me visibility. But until unless I don't scan, it will not give me the information. But in the IAST, which is called interactive application security testing, we install the agent, which is called as a hook in the application. So any kind of a system call activity happen in the application, I can able to see the real-time analysis. Okay, so today in the DevOps environment, we use IAST, and for that we have a tool called RASP. So keyword is perform the real-time analysis. That's why I'm going with the B, but C is saying the SAS. But in the case of SAS, application is not in a running state. We have access to the source code and we review the source code from where we're trying to identify the bug. And D, there is nothing called as a PTSD. So only option which is basically here is B for beta, IAST. So any question talking about real-time analysis, analyzing of the application code and all that, answer is basically B for beta. Okay, so next coffee shot. You are developing an application in a cloud environment. You would like to run a test in a same manner and with the same tool set as an attacker would attempt to use against an application. The question talking about same tool set which is used by attacker, same tool set you have to use. Okay. Second is run a test. Which type of testing approach can be effective in this scenario? Scenario is same tool which attacker use. See, in the case of SAS, application is not in a running state. Okay, we review the source code and from there we identify the bug. Same thing happened in the case of D also, code review. So D and A is removed. Left with B and C. B say penetration testing and C say VT. Vulnerability testing can be also effective, but it is only talk about the identification of vulnerability. But exploiting the vulnerability and penetrating to the system, think like an attacker. So B is basically a close option we have. That's why the answer is B for beta. Okay, so let's move to the next coffee shot. So which of the following is not one of the key requirements that need to be in place to ensure the integrity and confidentiality of virtual machine in a cloud environment? Option A, virtual machine must be launched on server with provable boot integrity. It means we're talking about protect with TPM and all that. So it should provide the secure initial state. That's why we have a TPM, we have a BitLocker by which we encrypt the system. So whenever we boot system, it is configured in a secure initial state, which is a primary requirement for any virtual machine. Option B is virtual machine images. Images must be encrypted in transit address and during an execution. Definitely, because image has a sensitive data and when it is not in use, it must be encrypted. That is one of the key requirement. Third is launch and provision only the qualified attested virtual machine images. So when I say attested virtual machine images, it means it is basically configured with TPM. It is configured with the attestation of the system state. Like, we say when we use BitLocker and all that, it encrypts the entire system, which providing me the integrity and confidentiality. So until unless you don't have a key, you cannot able to decrypt the system. So 1, 2, 3 is a requirement of the secure virtual machine. But option D saying that virtual machine image must be masked. We cannot mask that. And even if you mask, it is easy for us to demask that in transit address and during execution. So if you're giving me 2 and 4 option, encryption is basically more stronger than masking. That is why fourth is not some of the requirement that I will consider when I'm launching a virtual machine. That's why the answer is D and 4. So this is all from my side. If you find this video useful, do share in network. If you still have not subscribed to my channel, do subscribe to my YouTube channel and click on the bell icon to make sure you should not miss my future videos. And most important thing is that, do let me know what is the next video shall I make on CCSP. Good day. Bye.